else has an amendment which I'd like to bring up? Senator
I've got
King.
an amendment.
Kane, you want to go Sanders first?
Yeah. I call up Sanders Amendment number 2. Mr. Chairman, as you will recall, in the recent hearing we held on this issue, all 5 witnesses, including 3 Republican witnesses, made it clear that criticizing the extremist government of Netanyahu over their policies in Gaza is not anti-Semitic. One can criticize the government of Israel for their policies without being anti-Semitic. This amendment makes it clear that it is not anti-Semitic to oppose the Netanyahu-led war effort that has killed more than 50,000 people and wounded over 116,000, 60% of whom are women, children, and the elderly. Making that point is not anti-Semitic. It is not anti-Semitic to criticize Netanyahu's war machine that has damaged or destroyed 2/3 of all structures in Gaza, including 92% of the housing units. It is not anti-Semitic to speak out against the extremist Israeli government for not allowing a single shipment of aid into Gaza in over 2 months, 62 days and counting.
Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Today, we're diving into a heated debate straight from the Senate. And trust me, this one's a barn burner. Senator Bernie Sanders, yes, the same guy who thinks socialism is the cure for everything, just tried to push through an amendment that says criticizing Israel, specifically Netanyahu's government and their actions in Gaza, is not anti-Semitic. Now, I just watched this debate, and I've got a lot to say, so buckle up, grab a coffee, and let's break it down.
To point this out is not anti-Semitic, it is the truth. I urge my colleagues to vote yes on this amendment.
Senator Hassan.
Thank you. Just briefly, Mr. Chair, on Sanders Amendment 2, I will say that this amendment doesn't necessarily reflect the words that I would use in describing the full picture in Gaza. But just saying these words doesn't make you an anti-Semite. And so while I continue to remind people that this war would end if Hamas would put down its arms, we do have a First Amendment in this country that protects the freedom of speech. Thank you.
So, Senator Murphy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to support the senator's amendment, and it speaks to, I think, a really important issue in the underlying bill. The author of this definition has testified publicly that he never intended for the definition that ended up in statute to include the litany of examples that are offered as part of the guidance on how to implement this definition. This is really important because if you read these examples, which are going to be incorporated by law into this new definition, it absolutely opens up the possibility that criticism of Israel, for instance, suggesting that there is discrimination or bias against Palestinians connected to decisions that the government is making as actions or speech that could ultimately cause your federal funding to be in jeopardy. If you argued that there was bias or discrimination inherent in an exercise of the U.S. government, you would not be held liable, you would not be at risk of losing your federal funding. But under this definition, which includes the examples, there is a real potential that First Amendment protected speech, criticism of Israel, the policies of Israel, will end up getting you in trouble and putting your federal funding at risk. So I wish we had listened to the author of the definition. The author of the definition would support the definition itself as being complete and total enough in order to protect against anti-Semitism on campus. The reason that many of us are having trouble with this bill is because of the incorporation of the examples that were never, ever intended to become law and will just make this definition very confusing for an administration or courts to ultimately interpret and administer.
So, Senator, I'm about to recognize Senator Paul. I'm just going to tell folks this is actually not our jurisdiction. as this amendment is phrased, this is Senate Foreign Relations. And so I'm just telling you that. We're going to have a lot of discussion, and I'm going to have a gavel. I've asked my staff, we're going to get through this bill.
Are you going to have a gavel? But this is an issue that is relevant to this committee. This is the heart of what we're debating today.
This is a Senate Finance, this is a Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Sanders.
No, we're not debating the war in Gaza. We're debating this.
This amendment is there. So, Senator Paul.
Senators, what is the rule? Is the rule that we each get 2 minutes on each amendment? Okay, so you're not going to gavel down individuals who are
We
speaking.
are going to finish by noon because our time here is restricted. And I'm not going to allow process to kill our final passage by a death of 1,000 conversations.
Well, you set a very restrictive debate rule, and I just want to make sure you're holding to that. We all get the ability to speak.
And it may
for
get
2 minutes
ratcheted
on
even
each
further
amendment.
down.
Is that correct?
Because let's not be naive. This is a strategy to defeat final passage on something which has been out there for 6
Chairman,
years.
this is
So
a very
Senator Paul.
important issue, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Paul.
You know, I think imputing what the goals are of each of us in discussing this, my goal is to further the debate and have a very intellectual and informed debate over this. So there are 11 examples that are listed that could be anti-Semitism. One of them says that claiming the existence of the state of Israel is a racist endeavor. Well, what if I repeat that Netanyahu says that Israel is a Jewish state? Well, Jewish is a race, and if he says it's a Jewish state, just by repeating Netanyahu, could I be guilty of anti-Semitism? So, you know, the thing is there are questions, there are valid questions that people ask. So if you're a settler on the West Bank and you're Jewish, you get to vote in the Israeli elections. If you're Arab and you live on the West Bank, you don't. So is that fair, or is that me condemning, the citizenship or making allegations that are going to be, limited by this bill? So these are really important, and this is really the main objections that have come to this. If we did a standard sort of, we condemn anti-Semitism, it'd probably be passed with everybody voting for it. But instead, we're listing all these things that open Pandora's box, and realize that the police are behind this. The Department of Education has police. You may not know this, but the Department of Education actually has armed police. So they can send people to the campus to police this type of speech. And, seriously, it is actually advocated by the current government of Israel that it be a Jewish state and always remain a Jewish state. That is a racial statement. That's not my statement, that's their statement. So is it going to be disallowed by this bill for a student to say that on campus?
So
Chairman, I would call the question.
there is a motion. I'm going to make a motion to table this amendment. Is there a second?
Well, I made a motion to call the question. Mr. Chairman, I would like a vote on my amendment.
Motion to table because of absence of jurisdiction. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. It's non-debatable. Clerk shall call a roll.
Senator Paul?
No.
Senator Collins?
No by proxy?
Senator
I
Murkowski?
mean, yeah, I'm sorry, yes by proxy?
Yes, by proxy. Okay. All right. Senator Murkowski? Senator,
Yes by proxy?
Senator Mullen?
Yes by proxy?
Senator Marshall? Senator Scott? Senator Hawley?
Yes by proxy?
Senator Tupperville? Senator Banks? Senator Husted? Senator Moody?
Yes by proxy?
Senator Sanders?
No.
Senator Murray?
No by proxy.
Senator Baldwin?
No by proxy.
Senator Murphy? Senator Kane? Senator Hassan? Senator Hickenlooper? Senator Markey? Senator Kim? Senator Blunt Rochester? Senator Alsobrooks?
No by proxy.
Chairman Cassidy?
Senator Cassidy is a yes, and I'll also point out that we would not have the restrictions on debate had minority agreed to go beyond 2 hours. Now, the idea that somehow we're doing restrictions because of something that is heavy-handed on my part when we've not had an agreement to go beyond 2 hours is deceitful to the American people. Deceitful. So, with that said, Staff?
I have 11 ayes, 12 nays.
Okay. So do we now have a,
What, hold it.
So, motion
Oh.
to table was not agreed to yet.
so
Oh, okay, right.
now we'll have a vote on the amendment.
Correct.
The chairman will call the roll.
Call roll. Okay.
And these, I shall be voting no.
Senator Paul? Senator Collins?
No by proxy?
Senator Murkowski?
No by proxy?
Senator Mullen?
No by proxy?
Senator Marshall? Senator Scott? Senator Hawley?
No by proxy?
Senator Tuberville?
No by proxy?
Senator Banks? No. Senator Houston? No. Senator Moody?
No by proxy?
Senator Sanders?
Aye.
Senator Murray?
Aye by proxy.
Senator Baldwin?
Aye by proxy.
Senator Murphy? Senator Kane? Senator Hassan? Senator Hickenlooper? Senator Markey? Senator Kim? Senator Blunt Rochester? Senator Alsobrooks?
Aye by proxy.
Chairman Cassidy?
Senator Cassidy is a no.
I have 12 ayes, 11 nays.
Okay. The amendment fails.
So here's the rundown, folks. Sanders stands up and basically says, look, criticizing Israel, calling out Netanyahu for what's happening in Gaza, that's not anti-Semitic. He even cites a hearing where, apparently, all 5 witnesses, including 3 Republicans, agreed with him. He brings up the war in Gaza, says over 50,000 killed, 116,000 wounded, most of them women, kids, elderly. Also says 2/3 of Gaza's buildings are destroyed, 92% of homes gone, and Israel hasn't let a single aid shipment in for over 2 months. The gist? He wants it on record that speaking out against this, criticizing the Israeli government, should never be equated with anti-Semitism. Now, you had a few Democrats chime in. Senator Hassan, for example, says she wouldn't use Sanders' words, but agrees criticism isn't anti-Semitic. Senator Murphy gets real fired up, says the bill could actually threaten federal funding if you dare to criticize Israel, and warns that the definition of anti-Semitism is getting stretched way too far. Murphy claims even the guy who wrote the definition of anti-Semitism didn't want all these examples to become law, and now they're worried about academic freedom and First Amendment rights. Then you've got Senator Rand Paul, who, to his credit, asks the tough questions about free speech and academic freedom. He points out that if Israel is a Jewish state, and you just repeat what Netanyahu says, are you suddenly branded anti-Semitic? Is asking about voting rights in the West Bank now off limits? Paul even warns that the Department of Education has armed police who could enforce this stuff on campus. That's a chilling thought, folks. Police knocking on your door because you said the wrong thing about a foreign government. Is this what America is supposed to be? But here's the kicker. After all this debate, the amendment fails. 11 senators say yes, 12 say no. And the chair basically says, we're out of time, let's move on. Classic DC. Rush it through, limit debate, shut down real conversation. Let me tell you what's really going on here. This isn't about anti-Semitism. This is about shutting down criticism of a foreign government and using the label of anti-Semitism to police speech here in the United States. If this passes, your tax dollars, your federal funding, your free speech, all of it could be threatened if you step out of line. Now, I've got nothing but respect for Israel as an ally, and I stand against anti-Semitism in all its forms. But there's a big difference between hating Jews and criticizing a government's policies, especially when those policies are controversial, to say the least. This country was built on free speech. Our First Amendment wasn't written so politicians could decide what opinions are allowed and which ones get you silenced. If you can't criticize a foreign government without fear of losing your job, your funding, or your reputation, then we've lost what makes America great. Let's be real. The left loves to talk about free speech when it comes to burning the flag or kneeling for the anthem. But when it comes to speech they don't like, boom, suddenly it's hate speech, suddenly it's not protected, suddenly you're an enemy of the state. And the sad thing is, some Republicans are going along with this too. Listen, folks, if we go down this road, it won't stop with Israel. Today it's don't criticize Netanyahu. Tomorrow it's don't criticize China. Don't criticize the UN. Don't criticize the woke mob. The slope is slippery and it's steep. We need to be able to have honest, open debate about foreign policy, about war, about our alliances. That's how democracy works. If criticism of Israel's war in Gaza is anti-Semitic, then what's next? Is criticizing Saudi Arabia anti-Arab? Is criticizing China anti-Asian? It's absurd. So I'm glad senators like Rand Paul stood up and asked the tough questions. I'm disappointed this amendment failed, because it should be crystal clear that free speech is non-negotiable in America. My message to Congress: stop policing speech. Stop weaponizing identity politics to shut down debate. Stand up for the First Amendment, for our Constitution, and for the American people. Not for foreign governments, not for lobbyists, not for the globalist agenda. If you agree, let your senators know. Call them, write them, show up at their town halls. This is our country. We don't take orders from D.C., from the UN, or from anyone else. That's it for today, folks. Smash that like button if you believe in free speech. Subscribe for more no-nonsense commentary. And let me know in the comments, do you think criticizing Israel should be called anti-Semitism? Or do you think America needs to get back to what we do best? Open debate, freedom, and the Constitution? God bless you. God bless America. And I'll see you next time.